Okay, so we're back with our After Effects bird animation sort of example here. And so for you, you've placed your 12 or your 1 or 2 second animation here into After Effects, and you've masked it off, hopefully, just made it look like as clean as you want it to look. And so remember, anytime you're in a timeline-based Adobe product, you can always zoom in here, and you can kind of make this easier to see what's going on. And it's whenever Adobe renders stuff, you're going to see it renders this green line. And if you have a lot of stuff going on, it's not going to render it very fast, depending how fast your computer is. But if I click on it now, this is in real time, and it's just giving me that quick one loop that I created in Photoshop, right? And then it goes away, and you think, oh, how am I going to make this look like this bird is flying around the screen, which is what we're going to do next. What you want to do is you could just stack these up one after the next and just have like a whole bunch of these together, which is, as you would expect, less desirable. It's a big pain to try and track all of that. If you move one little piece, it messes everything up. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to interpret this footage and make it loop. So the way that you do that is you can just control click, depending on if you have a Mac or a PC, but modifier click on this. And you'll see that it brings up, just make sure you have this particular item here selected. And you can go in here and just, again, it's probably better to do it up on the project palette. Just click on it and go to Interpret Footage and go to Main. And you'll see here that there are all of these options that it gives you. So this works with any piece of footage that you want to play around with, right? So, but for us, we've got our thing in here. You can play with this stuff. I would again suggest you not mess with that too much. But you see there's this looping option here, right? So I'm going to loop this thing like, I don't know, 10,000 times. I think that'll probably do it, right? You click OK on that. And now, if we push our space bar, it's going to stop. But you can see how this like kind of gray area right here is left. If you just click and drag on that, it's going to, and if I zoom out, I can make my bird basically flap its wings forever and ever. It's just going to keep going just like that. So which is quite nice just to be able to sort of take that little thing we had loop and now it's just going over and over and over again, right? So, and again, depending on the quality of your animation, it's just going to look pretty natural. So now I've extended the timeline out so it'll just keep looping the whole time, which is great. So if I want to make my bird look like it's flying around the screen now, at least I have one stage done, which is to get the wings to flap over and over and over again. So again, that's done by clicking on this, control clicking and interpreting the footage. So you can interpret any piece of footage you want here and tell it to loop or whatever. So let's say I want to make this bird sort of fly across the screen. Now how would I make that happen? Like how do I do it? This is what the true power of After Effects is, which is that you can sort of tell After Effects to make things happen on your screen, and then how fast or slow those things happen is done through what we call keyframes. So if you look at your timeline again, you'll see that, okay, we've already got our mask set, and if you want, you can even lock your mask if your mask is fine. Then if you're clicking around, you won't accidentally do something to the mask on accident. So locking items in the timeline can be really helpful. You can also turn the eyeball on and off, just like in Photoshop or Illustrator. You can turn the sound on and off, which we don't need to mess with because we don't have any sound. So I can just click those masks up and leave them alone. And if I look at transform, though, that's the one I'm going to want to play with for my animation. So if you click on that, you can see there are all these options, right? There's all these things that have a little sort of, this looks like an old-fashioned stopwatch, right? So if you click on position, you're going to see a little bit of a, you're just going to see a little like kind of diamond show up right there. There's a little diamond thing there. What I want to do is I want to pick the first position I want my bird to be at for this animation. So I'm just going to pull the bird all the way off the page here, right? And get it so it's outside of the frame. And then I'm going to move down the timeline, and let's say I want it to take like 2 seconds for the bird to fly across. I'm going to click there, and then if I just click and drag, you'll see there's this little dotted line, right, that kind of comes behind it. And so if I just scroll back, if I scrub back along the timeline there, you'll see, oh wow, it just moved it. So This point right here is this first keyframe I added, and the last point is the last keyframe that I added. So now the bird is just going to sit in that one spot for the rest of the duration of my project, unless I tell it to go somewhere else and do something else, right? So, so if I want to, I can play with this, right? So I can adjust it. So if I want to speed it up, I can move the keyframe back, and now the bird's going to zoom across there much quicker. So again, if it's rendered green all the way across, you can see it in real time. So it goes pretty fast. Or if I want to slow it down, I just move this keyframe this way. Now it's going to take a longer duration for that particular item to sort of happen. And so I can, you know, again, wait for the green line to render there. Back it up and just, you can see that it's going to take a little longer than it did before. So that's the power of keyframes. It's great. But the cool thing about keyframes is they actually travel on paths. So this little dotted line is a path. And if you look at it, again, I'll zoom in, maybe 200% here. And if I look at it now, you can see that it's got this little doodad here that looks an awful lot like a handle from a Bezier curve, which is exactly what it is. So if I want, I can now curve my bird's flight this way, and I can just adjust this curve, and then the bird's going to do this kind of cool thing where it goes like that. So I can now move my image, move whatever I want all over the screen just by using keyframes. So if I want to go forward another 3 seconds and pull the bird back like this, now the bird's going to be flying backwards, which is, physics says that cannot happen. Am I right? But it does. It allows you to see kind of how you can move stuff all around the screen. But in addition to position, which is just telling it where it's going to be, you can see that these are the X and the Y axis. So it's just telling it at this time be here, and then it interpolates the data for us to figure out how to make it move from one spot to the next. In addition to position, you can also adjust scale. So let's say I want to change the scale of it. I can click the stopwatch, and I can make my bird smaller. Just change that. And then I can go here, and I can, if I just make the bird bigger, you'll see another keyframe showed up right there, right? And then if I want, I can come back here and make the bird smaller. So now it's just going to kind of morph from one thing into the next. So if I click off of this and just let it play, see the bird gets big, the bird comes back around, and then the bird gets small. So any of these properties here I can adjust. I can adjust opacity, I can adjust anchor point, I can adjust rotation. There's all these different things that I can do to allow my bird to kind of change and morph and move. So that's the simplest way to make your looping animation move around the screen and do something kind of interesting.